Okay. Well, we're gonna talk about Russia. As first chapter, I'm gonna talk about territory. Russia has Russia is the largest country in the world with a surface of 17 million square kilometers. This country covers 11.5% of landmass of the planet. This country is bigger than the other European states. The west side is considered as the European Russia. The Russian landmass west of the Ural Mountains is, as I said, the European Russia, and it's called that way by the geography experts. It is not a separate country, but rather called that because of its political, cultural, and geographical links with Europe. Russian territory not only includes the landmass already described, but also has an exclave, which is Kaliningrad, and it's located between Poland and Lithuania. Being the largest country in the world, Russia shares borders with 14 countries: Azerbaijan, Belarus, China, Estonia, Finland, Georgia, Kazakhstan, North Korea, Latvia, Lithuania, Mongolia, Norway, Poland, and Ukraine. Russia, as it covers 9 time zones, which is a lot. All climate zones except tropical are included within this territory, with land that stretches almost halfway around the planet. It has access to different regions, such as Asia Pacific, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and this represents a great opportunity to extract natural resources and for international trading. On the other hand, it has many landforms inside of its territory, like Caucasus Mountains, the Ural Mountains, and the Kolyma Mountains. Some rivers, such as the Volga River and Vina. Russia is one of the most important producers of gas. Recently, it was displaced from the first place by the United States, but it still supplies several countries like Ukraine, Germany, Italy, France, and Turkey. Russia has in its powers resources like coal, uranium, and oil. It would be natural for the country to become the main producers of these ones too. For instance, Russia occupies the 3rd place of the worldwide ranking as oil producer. The oil sector has undergone substantial liberalization and now it's primarily restructured and privately held. It is not a surprise that Russia has influence in Europe regarding oil and natural gas supply. The first one is not precisely a mean of pressure as strong as a natural gas. Nevertheless, this European need for energy resources only reveals the power of pressure that the Russian energy weapon can apply on them. After the fall of the USSR and the constitutional crisis of 1993, the Russian country is now a federal presidential republic. The first order division divides territory in 83 subjects of the federation, 46 provinces, 21 republics, 4 autonomous regions, and other things which names we couldn't translate. So yeah, and their administrative heads are often called governors, even when their official titles may vary. Moscow and St. Petersburg are federal cities and function as separate regions. However, in practice, the power resides in the center, Moscow being the center, which controls the whole country. All these entities are grouped into 7 federal districts, which makes it easier to the federal government to administrate the territory. Each district is administered by an envoy appointed by the president. Their function is to work as a link between the federal entities and the federal government in order to make these federal entities comply with the federal laws. And now we're going to talk about population.
I'm going to talk about population. Well, Russia has 143,000 inhabitants inside the territory. It has, well, in the 90s it was like unstable population, and later on in 2005 it increased, and nowadays in 2013 now the population is more stable. And well, it's the most populated country and is growing moderately and slowly. Regarding the foreigners, the rate of net migration in Russia is 0.21 migrants per thousand of people. Pausa el video, In 1994, there was the highest rate of migration inside the country. Later on, the immigrants came from the countries of the Commonwealth of Independent States. And today, immigration is attractive because of economic reasons regarding work and study. But this complicates ¿cómo se llama? The immigration brings some limitations inside the population because they have to create like some kind of integration policy, and most Russians are not supporting this migration policy. Well, as we know, the capital city is Moscow and is the largest city in Russia. The most important cities in Russia are St. Petersburg is the second largest city in the country. It's important because for being the former capital of the country for over 200 years, and it's World Heritage. It's home of the Constitutional Court of Russia. Then we have Novosibirsk. It's the third most populated city in the state, and it's important because of the industrial research and transport and financial core. Then we have Kazan, which is one of the major economic, sports, political, and educational center, and Samara. It's a manufacturing and aerospace industry city with production of launch vehicle rockets. And then we have economy.
Well, now I will proceed to explain the chapter of economy. Well, we all know that the USSR fell in 1991 when the capitalist bloc of the Cold War won the Cold War. Russia implemented several reforms in order to adapt to the context of the globalized world. So many reforms were established. For example, the government privatized industrial and commercial companies. It was instituted a commodity and stock exchange system. Now the citizens were allowed to purchase shares, so they could own the companies. But this had a lot of cost to the internal situation in economics and in the social area because, well, the transitional period was a little bit slow and painful. The prices increased, there were high levels of inflation, and the salaries, the real incomes of the population fell. Nevertheless, in 2000, from 2000 to 2008, there was a big, extraordinary economic growth in Russia. We have to remember that the first mandates of Vladimir Putin were in this. They were the first two mandates of Putin. So the country began to increase very rapidly in the economic area. Nevertheless, in 2008, the economic world crisis that started in the US also hit the Russian economy. And well, banks and firms almost were bankrupt, and also as the oil prices fell, the Russian economy was very hit by this. In 2009, the recovery stage starts, and in 2010 it stabilizes. Nevertheless, it acquires the tendency to decrease. As we can see in a table that will be shown in the day of the exposition, the GDP has been decreasing since 2010, but very slightly. Well, as we all know, the national currency is the ruble. The GDP of the Russian nation is $2,015 billion. Is the 8th economy of the world, not Italy, Russia. GDP per capita is about $14,000. It's the 49th country in the world by richness of its citizens, and the unemployment rate has been decreasing. For example, in 2009 we had 8.4%. By 2013, 5.7%. Russia has many economic partners. The main ones are the Netherlands, China, Germany, Italy, Turkey, Ukraine, Belarus. Their former satellites in the USSR era. Their exports in oil and natural gas mainly focus first on Germany, later the Netherlands, China, as we saw in the economic partners. And of natural gas, the main ones in this chart we can see that is Germany, Turkey, and Eastern Europe countries. Well, Gazprom is a very important company. The government owns about 50% of it. 70% of the exports of oil and natural gas. 70% of the exports of the Russian economy are of oil and natural gas. Sorry, and the revenues from these resources constitute about 50% of the federal budget. So we can see this is the major industry in Russia. It's worldwide is the second of dry natural gas, second producer, and the third one in liquid fuels. Well, there are important sectors also like Tatneft, that is a oil and natural gas company. Meshel, that is a mineral company. Megafon, that, as the name says, it's a telecommunications company. Interrose is about energy. Aeroflot, it's an air line. Well, there is a lot of economic disparity between the regions. The wealth is in the in the west, and in the center of the republic we can see that there is the incomes are not that high. For example, we have data that says that 110 Russian citizens control over 35% of the total household wealth across the vast country. Imagine. Well, we'll now proceed to the area of internal politics.
Well, regarding internal politics, we know that the executive power consists of the Russian president, which is Vladimir Putin. He was re-elected in 2012. Russia has a semi-presidential system, and you know that the president is the most important person in this system. The president designates the prime minister. In this case is Mendeleev. The functions of the president in this case is to lead the foreign policy and internal politics, to coordinate institutions, and to lead military strategy. Another function of the president, he can dissolve the Duma, he can establish law initiatives and call for referendums. The head of government functions, in this case of Mendeleev, are to report back to the president, to implement treaties and decrees,
and to establish certain laws regarding social, energy, migration, and labor policies. About the legislative power, it has two cameras, the Federation Council, which is the upper house, and the Duma. The Federation Council is about 166 deputies, which have a mandate of 4 years. They are chosen by each administrative unit. They approve military decisions, also border changes, and they can veto laws. About the Duma, it consists of 450 deputies, which have a 5-year mandate, and they have proportional representation. They receive draft laws, they approve the designation of the Prime Minister, and they have authority in areas of the central bank. About political parties, Russia has an important party, which is the United Russia. There are 78 parties in Russia, in the cameras. Only 4 are the main ones. For example, United Russia, and the CPFR, which is a communist party, Just Russia. This party is known to be manipulated by the president, and the LDPR. Regarding human rights and democracy, we use The Economist as a source, and he says that, as many other sources, that Russia is an authoritarian government with certain repression. It's a managed democracy. The liberty of expression is controlled. We have to consider that the re-election of Putin was considered by some groups as cynical. In 2012, the government established some repressive laws which violated the human rights. In fact, there was a riot which is called the Pussy Riot, and another problems regarding homophobia. We have to mention that Russia has certain problems in its territory. For example, Chechnya, and we'll talk about foreign policy now.
About the foreign policy, second half of the 20th century, the Soviet Union and the United States fighting for obtaining power and hegemony. And after the USSR collapsing, some people in Russia sees the United States as the main ideological and geostrategic opponent. And Russia is the largest country in the world and is richness in raw materials. Russia represents 20% of the world's production of oil and natural gas. And Russia has an energy weapon because it exports a lot of natural resources to other European Union countries, and it works as a means of pressure. And Russia weakness its image, the two others which turn it out to be favorable. And Russia is a nuclear power, and the Soviet Union had its first atomic bomb This was named first lighting plutonium bomb in 1949. And Russia is the third country with the largest military budget. The organizations and OSCE and United Nations and SCO, BRICS and NATO. Russia has frictions between United States and because the US has tried to make political economic reforms in Russia, and this considers that to be meeting in its internal affairs. Recently, on March 18, Crimea became officially part of Russia, and after the Russian parliament approved the treaty regarding its annexation. And days before a referendum in the peninsula took place, 50.5% of voters support the annexion of Crimea to Russia. And it's all.
That would be all. Thank you for its attention. Thank you.